Hello, this is Daniel Raymond, the voice behind Ray's Guide, and between lore, hints at CitizenCon presentations, and clues given by ships and ship features that CIG are clearly intending to fill needs that will be created by Pyro, we are starting to get a glimpse of what gameplay in the world of Pyro will be like. And one thing is clear, that coming to Pyro for those of us used to Stanton will be like...
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
But when I try to sit down and write about the differences, I realized that there were some big questions about Pyro that are unanswered. Not that CIG hasn't answered them. They would have had to have answered them in order to be this far along in the design process to have created the things that they have already shown us. It's just that they haven't talked to us about any of them. And I'm not asking for spoilers. These are just ordinary core bits of information about the situation in Pyro. Or to put another way, if CIG were to do a Q&A on Pyro, these would be the things that I would want right at the top of the list. So, starting at the top of the list. 1. Is there a medical clinic at Ruin Station? This is a very significant question because in lore, and based on everything teased about Pyro, Ruin Station is it as far as locations worth mentioning in Pyro. This means that if there isn't a public medical clinic in Ruin Station, it is unlikely that there is one anywhere else, and the only respawn points in Pyro will be the ones that we bring in ships, which has a huge effect on how you plan fleets and operations. Because if you don't have your respawn ship bed available in Pyro, then you are going to be respawning back in Stanton, which brings up a side question and a side comment. The side comment is that even if there is a clinic inside of Ruin Station, you will almost certainly not be able to set Ruin Station as currently described as your home city. And the reason is that there's a core principle in MMO design not to start first-time players in a place where they can be crushed. And if you can set Ruin Station as a starting city, then expect the most troublesome of PvPers to be building trophy pyramids out of the boxes of looted hospital gowns and looted beginning flight suits and helmets gained from camping the hospital and hab exits. The side question is whether there would be a UEE-controlled last stop before Pyro base near the jump point on the Stanton side. Frankly, this makes a lot of sense, both from a logistics and a security standpoint. Such a location would in fact be the logical location for INS Jericho, not Microtech L1. I didn't make this its own separate question because technically it's a question about Stanton, not Pyro. So if there is such a base, it will be the place where everyone going to Pyro will make their respawn points so that if they have to respawn in Stanton, it at least won't be too far into Stanton. Nothing has been mentioned about medical so far in the previews of Ruin Station, and there's been no mention that I can recall of the Toronto studio working on it. And of course, Toronto would be the people who would be tasked with it, considering their excellent track record in designing cool medical facilities in the verse. Frankly, I'd love to see how they match a medical facility to the rest of the trashy aesthetic of Ruin Station. Number 2, presuming that there is a medical clinic in Ruin Station, will there also be medical clinics at the major homesteads on Pyro? They didn't look that sophisticated in the CitizenCon presentation. But there is an important thing to remember. These Homestead outposts have been mostly described as upgraded versions of the Stanton-type outposts, but they are also something else. They are downgraded versions of the major landing zones on Stanton. There is nothing in Pyro like New Babbage or Loreville or Orison, and certainly nothing like Arcorp. So if Stanton has these major landing zones, then Pyro is only going to have the larger of the homesteads acting as, for what I will call for convenience, minor landing zones. There was no mention in the CitizenCon presentation about the homestead components of a medical clinic module, but then again, if it were, it would certainly have been split off to the Toronto team to work on, again for the same reasons I mentioned earlier, and again I'd be fascinated to see a tease of their designs. And just like with the medical on Ruin Station, the answer to this question has huge impact on how reliant we will be on the medical facilities that we bring with us, because we often forget how much larger the total system size of Pyro is over Stanton. But it brings up another side issue. These minor landing zones are run by factions. What happens if you have stored your regen point at a minor landing zone, but your reputation with the controlling faction has changed, and you are now in an attack on site status? I'll discuss my suggestion on what will happen in a later question about faction justice. 3. What ship services and personal services are available at Ruin Station? Can I have a hab at Ruin Station? Is refueling available for purchase there? Are ship repairs and rearming of ship guns available? Can you store and retrieve ships there? And finally, can you use insurance to claim a ship and have it delivered to Ruin Station? The answer to these questions have a huge impact on how much players will be forced to be reliant on each other and to what extent we'll have to be going all the way back to the other side of the jump tunnel to do things like file an insurance claim on a ship. 4, and then the inevitable follow-up. How much of these personal and ship services, HABs, refueling, repair, rearming, ship storage, and insurance claims, are also available at the minor landing zone homesteads? If so, how much of a reputation will you need with the controlling organization to use them? Will neutral be enough, or will you need to first establish a certain positive reputation? Number 5. Now I move to the economy of Pyro, and the first thing one realizes when thinking about Pyro versus Stanton is how sparsely populated Pyro is by comparison. There are no city planets. There are no cities. There are no fully occupied space stations. There are just 50 homestead villages on 10 planets, plus their moons, and one operable derelict space station. A rough mental census would generously give Pyro 1/10,000th of the population of Stanton. And such a small population simply can't have that much industrial capacity, either in terms of goods needed or goods produced. It's easy to imagine for Stanton these massive cities and stations needing a steady supply of big starlifters and hulls to carry the tens of thousands of SCU of goods needed and goods produced. But Pyro? So the question is, what sort of supplies, if any, will Ruin Station be buying, and what sort of products will they be producing and in what quantities? Plus, of course, the minor landing zone homesteads. Because if you or your org were setting up to operate your own little mining, refining operation in Pyro, will you be selling to the local markets? Because it looks entirely possible that if more than a few players do that, then the limited demand at Ruin Station and the minor landing zones will be promptly swamped, changing your delivery runs all the way back to Stanton, greatly affecting profitability. Which predictably brings up a side issue. Tony Zurovic said that he needed 100,000 Quantabots to simulate the economy of Stanton. Will Pyro also have 100,000 Quantabots, or will they only be a smaller number for the limited Pyro economy? Or will the Quantabots of Stanton also be able to go through the jump tunnel and the dual systems be managed as one economy? This would make the obviously best solution, but will the current generation of Quanta be up to that task? Number 6, lore and some discussions of Pyro. There have been descriptions of massive bursts of solar flares that everyone has to hide from, and this is why Pyro remains so sparsely populated. So is this still going to be a reality for the players? If so, how often will these massive storms occur? How much notice will we have? And what will happen if I log out in an unsafe location, but log in during a solar megastorm? Can I get into a death loop if my respawn point is in a currently uninhabitable location? This has obviously important implications for how we plan game sessions and where we log out. For example, I can think of 2 locations in the solar system where you can log out and know that no matter how long until you log in, you will be assured to be in a safe location from solar flares. Can you think of them? Number 7, my final questions have to do with the issue of law and consequences in Pyro. In Pyro, the UEE has abandoned the system and appears, if at all, only when hot pursuit of a fugitive. The rest of the time, Pyro's on its own, and they have coped with this by creating factions and gang justice. So what does that justice look like? Pish, you might say. They're criminals. Just put a bullet in the back of their heads and you'll never bother you again. Except, in the stupid stupidity that is the verse, if you want somebody to never bother you again, then the absolutely last thing you want to do is kill them. Killing them just gives them a fast pass to bothering you again. That's just a bit of how CIG really hasn't grasped all the stupid implications of their stupid decision about having an in-game world reality to quick re-entry to the world, versus just having it be an out-of-game manifestation of presumed improvements in medical combined with asynchronous passage of time that all MMOs must have. So what do the gangs do if they catch you after you, let's say, become incapacitated in their base, in the process of shooting it up while attempting to steal their most valued possession? Well, here's my suggestion. Each minor landing zone has a brig. Ruin Station, instead of an on-station brig, uses one that's on a minor landing zone that they also control. Once in the brig, there are 3 avenues for getting out. 1. Pay a ransom with your own fund. You are dumped into the Stanton Pyro jump point station. And yes, they still hate you. Number 2. Appeal to another gang that you have at least neutral reputation with. They will make you part of the next prisoner exchange. It is presumed these gangs are frequently doing prisoner exchanges. However, the gang that bailed you out, depending on your reputation with them and whether you were doing a job for them when you were captured, say that you will have a debt with them. And you can pay that debt either with cash or you can pay it by doing work assignments for them. Pay quickly or you'll now have 2 gangs that hate you.
Yes, Greedo. As a matter of fact, I was just going to see your boss. Tell Jabba that I've got his money.
Number 3. Arrange for your friends to raid the base, capture the brig, and bust you out. Obviously, if you thought your reputation with that faction was bad before, it will now be even worse. Now, the whole brig concept is just my suggestion, not what CIG has said that they will do, and certainly it should be clear from the whole sphere regeneration thing that CIG doesn't often do what I suggest is best. And now for an update on the Grow the Channel ship giveaway. As of recording, we are over 59% of the subscriber goal and over 47% of the membership goal to release to someone their choice of either the Anvil Liberator, the ship for shipping your ships, or the Misk Odyssey Long Duration Exploration Carrier. 1 entry per video. Members, you're entered automatically, and if the winner is a member as of the publication date of the winning video, then they will win both the Liberator and the Odyssey. For non-members, just subscribe and comment somehow using the secret word. And the secret word for this video is my phrase for the largest of the Homestead Outposts. Fly safe, keep it real, and I'll see you in the verse. This is Daniel Raymond for Ray's Guide.